the darkness of Buchenwald concentration camp, a woman lay dying. Her arm had been amputated without proper anesthesia. She was bleeding to death on a filthy cot, forgotten by the world that once knew her as royalty. But in her final moments, as fellow prisoners gathered around her, she whispered words that would echo through history. "I'm dying. Remember me not as a princess, but as your Italian sister." This is the story of Princess Mafalda of Savoy, the only European princess to die in a Nazi concentration camp. A woman whose journey from the gilded halls of Roman palaces to the horrors of Buchenwald reveals a tale of courage, compassion, and heartbreaking sacrifice that history nearly forgot. Today we uncover the extraordinary life of a princess who chose humanity over privilege, kindness over survival, and whose final act of grace illuminated the darkest corners of human cruelty. This isn't just another royal story. It's a testament to the power of the human spirit when faced with unimaginable evil. From her wedding day, adorned in the magnificent Hesse ears of wheat tiara, to her final moments, sharing her meager rations with fellow prisoners, Princess Mafalda's story spans the heights of European royalty and the depths of Nazi brutality. Her jewels were stolen, her titles stripped away, but her compassion remained unbroken. Why have so few heard of this remarkable woman? How did a princess become a beacon of light in humanity's darkest hour? And what can her story teach us about courage, sacrifice, and the true meaning of nobility? A princess born to bridge two worlds, Princess Mafalda. Maria Elisabetta Anna Romana entered the world on November 19, 1902, in the eternal city of Rome. Born into the illustrious house of Savoy, she was the second daughter of King Victor Emmanuel III of Italy and Queen Elena of Montenegro. But unlike many royal children isolated in golden cages, Mafalda grew up in a remarkably grounded household. Her mother, Queen Elena, had been raised in a small Balkan village and insisted on doing her own cooking and cleaning. This humble approach instilled in young Mafalda values of service and humility that would define her character throughout her life. She mastered 4 foreign languages, played multiple musical instruments, and was renowned for her beauty and intelligence. During World War I, something profound happened that would shape Mafalda's understanding of human suffering. She accompanied her mother to Italian military hospitals, comforting wounded soldiers and witnessing firsthand the devastating cost of war. These early experiences planted seeds of empathy that would bloom tragically in her final years. A wedding that united enemies in 1925. At a Roman garden party, 22-year-old Mafalda met Prince Philip of Hesse. Their engagement created a sensation across Europe. It was the first betrothal between royal families from opposite sides of World War I. The wedding at Racconigi Castle on September 23, 1925, was a medieval spectacle of unprecedented grandeur. For her wedding day, Mafalda wore the magnificent Hesse ears of wheat tiara, composed of 10 diamond ears of wheat arranged in a wreath style. This spectacular piece, originally from the trousseau of Grand Duchess Alexandra Nikolaevna in 1844, was Prince Philip's wedding gift to his bride. The wheat motifs symbolize prosperity and abundance, a tragic irony given her future fate. Mafalda also received a breathtaking amethyst parure, likely created by Koch around 1925. This ensemble included a diamond bandeau tiara set with large faceted amethysts, accompanied by necklaces, earrings, brooches, and a massive stomacher. When she wore this complete parure for formal portraits, she created some of the most stunning royal jewelry photographs of the era. Her collection also included a strand of 300 pearls gifted by her brother, Crown Prince Umberto, various Hesse family emerald and sapphire pieces, and numerous brooches that showcase the finest European craftsmanship. These jewels weren't merely decorative. They were symbols of her position, her heritage, and the bright future that seemed to stretch endlessly before her. The shadow falls, but the 1930s brought ominous changes to Mafalda's world. Her husband, Prince Philip, had joined the Nazi Party in 1930 and became a fervent supporter of Adolf Hitler. As governor of Hesse-Nassau, Philippe served as a crucial intermediary between Hitler and Mussolini, using his marriage to the Italian princess as diplomatic leverage. Here lies one of history's most chilling ironies. While her husband collaborated with the Nazi regime, Mafalda herself became one of its most despised enemies. Hitler's hatred for her was venomous and personal. He called her the blackest carrion in the Italian royal house, while his propaganda minister, Joseph Goebbels, labeled her with even more vulgar epithets. Unlike her husband, Mafalda never hid her antipathy for Hitler and the Nazi regime. Her moral courage in the face of rising fascism would soon put her in mortal danger. She understood, perhaps better than many, the true nature of the evil that was consuming Europe. The trap in September 1943, while attending the funeral of her brother-in-law, Tsar Boris III of Bulgaria, Mafalda learned devastating news. Italy had surrendered to the Allies. Her husband was already under arrest, imprisoned in Flossenburg concentration camp. Her 4 children had been given sanctuary in the Vatican. On September 23, 1943, exactly 18 years after her fairy tale wedding, Mafalda received a fateful phone call. SS officer Karl Haas told her that her husband needed to speak with her urgently and requested she come to the German embassy. Unaware that Philip was already imprisoned, she walked directly into a Nazi trap. The moment she arrived at the embassy, Mafalda was arrested. The woman who had once worn diamonds and pearls worth millions was now a prisoner of the Reich. She was transported to Munich for questioning, then to Berlin for 2 weeks of harsh interrogation, and finally to her doom at Buchenwald concentration camp. Life in hell at Buchenwald. Mafalda was imprisoned under the alias Frau Weber in the special isolation barrack alongside other prominent prisoners. Despite her status as a special prisoner, conditions were harsh. She was housed near the ammunition factory in the Fischhausen special camp, surrounded by a high wall that cut her off from the outside world. Yet, even in this hell on earth, Mafalda's royal compassion shone through like a beacon. Fellow Italian prisoners, who recognized her despite her false identity, testified that she shared her scarce food with other inmates, giving what little she had to those who needed it most. One witness recorded words that capture the essence of her character. The only beams of light in Buchenwald were the eyes of Mafalda. Another prisoner, working in the infirmary, witnessed her extraordinary kindness despite her own suffering. Think about this for a moment. Here was a woman who had been raised in palaces, who had worn tiaras worth fortunes, who had dined with kings and queens. Yet, in the most dehumanizing place on earth, she chose to share her meager rations with strangers. She transformed her vulnerability into strength, her suffering into service. The final sacrifice, on August 24, 1944, Allied bombers targeted the ammunition factory at Buchenwald. The attack, meant to weaken Nazi Germany, would instead claim the life of an Italian princess who had already sacrificed everything in opposition to fascism. 3 bombs fell near the isolation barracks. Approximately 400 prisoners were killed in the raid. Mafalda was buried up to her neck in debris, suffering severe burns on her left arm and face. As fellow Italian prisoners frantically dug her out from the rubble, she spoke words that would become her eternal legacy. "I'm dying. Remember me not as a princess, but as your Italian sister." In that moment, stripped of everything, her titles, her jewels, her freedom, her health, Mafalda revealed the true nobility of her character. She didn't want to be remembered for her royal birth or her magnificent tiaras. She wanted to be remembered as a sister to all who suffered. The cruelest betrayal. What happened next reveals the calculated cruelty of the Nazi regime. The SS deliberately delayed Mafalda's medical treatment, seeing an opportunity to eliminate a troublesome royal without appearing to execute her directly. She was taken to the camp's brothel, which had been converted into a makeshift medical facility. For days, Mafalda lay suffering with infected burns while SS doctors callously postponed the necessary surgery. A prisoner who was formerly a surgeon begged the hospital director to operate immediately, but permission was withheld for 2 additional days, while headquarters decided whether to treat the Italian princess. When the amputation was finally performed, it was too late. The operation was deliberately botched by an inexperienced surgeon using inadequate instruments. Princess Mafalda bled to death during the night of August 27 to 28, 1944, never regaining consciousness after the operation. An angel in hell. Even in death, Mafalda found a guardian angel. Father Joseph Thiel, a Bohemian priest and fellow prisoner, discovered her naked body dumped with other corpses in the crematorium. In an act of profound respect and defiance against Nazi dehumanization, he pulled her body from the heap, covered it with dignity, and arranged for proper cremation. Before the cremation, Father Thiel cut off a lock of Mafalda's hair, which was secretly smuggled out of the camp and kept in Jena until it could be sent to her German relatives. This small token of remembrance ensured that her family would eventually know her fate. Initially, Mafalda was buried anonymously in grave number 262 of the Weimar Cemetery, marked only as an unknown woman. The truth of her identity and death remained hidden until after Germany's surrender in May 1945. A princess's legacy restored after the war. Fellow Italian survivors who had witnessed Mafalda's kindness arranged for her proper reburial. In 1951, Princess Mafalda was finally laid to rest at Kronberg Castle in Hesse, Germany, in the small cemetery of the Hesse family. Her children, who had survived the war in Vatican Sanctuary, were finally able to mourn their mother properly. But what of her magnificent jewels? Tragically, they became part of another wartime crime. In 1946, the Hesse family jewels, including many of Mafalda's treasures, were stolen by American Army officers stationed at Friedrichshof Castle. Captain Kathleen Nash, Colonel Jack Durant, and Major David Watson systematically looted the family's hidden treasure, valued at over $3 million. Only about half of the stolen jewels were ever recovered when the thieves were eventually caught and court-martialed. Many of Mafalda's beautiful pieces, including parts of her amethyst parure, were lost forever, scattered to fences and buried in American backyards. However, one precious piece survived, the Hesse ears of wheat tiara that she had worn on her wedding day. This tiara was among the few pieces recovered and returned to the royal family after the wartime theft. Today, it serves as a tangible reminder of her story, a symbol of both the heights of her happiness and the depths of her sacrifice. The forgotten princess remembered today. Princess Mafalda is honored not just as a royal victim of the Holocaust, but as a symbol of resistance against fascism. In 1995, the Italian government honored her memory with a commemorative postal stamp. The flat pasta variety, Mafaldine, bears her name, ensuring that even in Italian kitchens, people remember their princess who chose compassion over comfort. Her granddaughter, Princess Elizabeth of Hesse, proudly states that the family is honored that Mafalda stood up for what is right and went against fascism and dictatorships. This sentiment captures the true measure of her legacy, the deeper truth. But why does Princess Mafalda's story matter so profoundly today? In our modern world, where we often measure worth by wealth, status, and social media followers, her story reminds us of what true nobility really means. Mafalda's journey from princess to prisoner reveals that authentic greatness isn't found in tiaras or titles. It's found in how we treat others when we have nothing left to give. She could have used her royal connections to secure better treatment, could have hoarded her meager rations, could have focused solely on her own survival. Instead, she chose to share, to comfort, to serve. Her final words, "Remember me not as a princess but as your Italian sister," weren't just a dying wish. They were a profound statement about human dignity and equality. In the face of a regime that sought to categorize people by race, religion, and status, Mafalda declared that we are all fundamentally family. Lessons for today. Princess Mafalda's story offers several profound lessons that resonate powerfully in our current times. First, that moral courage often comes at a tremendous personal cost. Mafalda could have remained silent about Nazi atrocities, could have supported her husband's political choices for the sake of family harmony. Instead, she chose to stand for what was right, knowing it would make her a target. Second, that true leadership is about service, not privilege. Even when stripped of everything that defined her royal status, Mafalda continued to lead by example, showing fellow prisoners what compassion looked like in the darkest of circumstances. Third, that our final legacy isn't determined by our titles or possessions, but by how we treat others in their moments of greatest need. Mafalda's jewels were stolen, her palace is lost, her royal status meaningless in Buchenwald. But her kindness created a legacy that outlasted all the material trappings of royalty. The ripple effect of compassion, the prisoners who witnessed Mafalda's final acts of kindness, carried her story with them for the rest of their lives. They told their children and grandchildren about the princess who shared her bread, who comforted the dying, who chose love over fear even in hell itself. This is perhaps the most powerful aspect of her story, how one person's choice to remain compassionate in the face of unimaginable cruelty created ripples of hope that continue to spread decades later. Every time someone chooses kindness over selfishness, generosity over greed, love over hate, they honor Princess Mafalda's memory. The crown that cannot be stolen. Princess Mafalda of Savoy's story reminds us that there are some crowns that cannot be stolen, some jewels that cannot be taken away. The crown of character, the jewels of compassion, the tiara of human dignity. These remain ours no matter what external forces may try to strip from us. In a world that had forgotten mercy, Mafalda became its living embodiment. In a place designed to destroy the human spirit, she proved that love and kindness could still illuminate the shadows. Her magnificent material jewels may have been lost or stolen, but her most precious treasure, a heart that remained compassionate even unto death, shines eternal. The next time you face a choice between self-interest and service, between comfort and courage, between silence and speaking truth to power, remember the Italian princess who chose to be remembered not for her crown, but for her character. Remember Princess Mafalda of Savoy, the only princess who died in a Nazi camp, but whose spirit of compassion lives on forever. Her story teaches us that true nobility lies not in the accident of birth or the weight of jewels upon our heads, but in the deliberate choice to remain human when the world around us has lost its humanity. In the end, that may be the most royal legacy of all. If this story moved you, please share it. Princess Mafalda's memory deserves to live on, and her example of courage and compassion needs to inspire new generations. Which aspect of her story resonated most deeply with you? Share your thoughts in the comments below.